70 Leadership Quotes that can change your leadership capacity, timeless principles to stretch your influence, strengthen your team, and sharpen your character by Bishop Martin Wilson. Author's note: these quotes have been adapted, paraphrased, and inspired by the leadership lessons and voices I've been shaped by over my 3 decades of leadership in the church, in coaching, and in community building. They represent a fusion of wisdom from respected authors, spiritual discernment, and real-world ministry insight. All credit is due to the many authors, coaches, pastors, mentors, and leadership giants whose ideas have shaped this compilation. I stand on your shoulders. With honor, Bishop Martin Wilson, founder, coach, leader, shepherd. Opener. Leadership is more than a title, it is a trust, a weight, and a calling. In every generation, leaders are challenged not just to grow their organizations, but to grow themselves. Whether you're leading in the pulpit, the boardroom, the classroom, or your home, the true test of your leadership is not in how loud your voice is, but in how deeply your presence transforms lives. This collection of 70 powerful leadership principles is designed to stretch your leadership capacity, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. Each quote contains not just a truth, but a challenge. Some will affirm what you've lived. Others will confront what you've ignored. All are written to develop the kind of leader who doesn't just succeed, but lasts. These insights have been drawn from years of observation, experience, mentorship, and study of world-class leadership voices. From the pastoral wisdom of John Maxwell, to the emotional intelligence insights of Brené Brown, to the organizational clarity of Patrick Lencioni, and the spiritual depth of Dr. Tony Evans, this work pays tribute to the voices who've shaped leaders who shape the world. 1. You must find yourself before you can lead others. Effective leadership starts within. Before you can lead people with confidence and clarity, you must first have a deep understanding of your own identity, values, strengths, and weaknesses. A leader who has not done the work of self-discovery will often lead from insecurity, comparison, or confusion. Your self-awareness becomes the compass for your leadership decisions. Without it, you project your personal uncertainty onto the people you're called to serve. True leaders operate from identity, not image, from authenticity, not performance. If you don't know who you are, every challenge will shake you. Identity is your leadership anchor. 2. Not everyone can be the star, but everyone can be a team player. Leadership is not about being the loudest, most talented, or most visible person in the room. Great teams are built when individuals sacrifice personal glory for collective success. A team wins when its members understand their role and value each contribution, not just the spotlight moments. True leaders know how to elevate others. In fact, the best leaders build other leaders. They don't need to outshine everyone else, they empower others to shine. When ego is replaced with humility, synergy is born. Team players multiply momentum, while stars can divide loyalty. A culture of we always outperforms a culture of me. 3. Respect is earned when people see you make hard decisions. Leadership isn't about popularity, it's about responsibility. People respect leaders who make tough calls, especially when those decisions reflect character, conviction, and courage. Whether you're confronting a toxic employee, changing an outdated system, or standing alone on principle, people are watching. Will you bend under pressure, or stand firm? Respect doesn't come when you say what everyone wants to hear, it comes when you do what is right, even when it costs. Every difficult decision becomes a trust-building moment. Your integrity in the storm tells people whether they can follow you through the next one. 4. Leadership reveals itself in the storm, not the sunshine. Anyone can lead when things are easy. But true leadership is proven in adversity. Crises expose who we really are. When the plan fails, when people leave, when the money runs out, your response becomes your resume. A leader who is grounded in faith, values, and purpose will navigate the storm with clarity and steadiness. Others panic, leaders pivot. Pressure doesn't make you, it reveals you. If you crumble in crisis, it means your leadership was built on sand, not stone. Prepare your character in peace so it can stand firm in chaos. You're not called to avoid storms, you're called to lead through them. 5. Ask better questions to unlock better growth. Growth isn't driven by having all the answers, it's fueled by asking better questions. Great leaders are great question askers. They remain curious, not complacent. They ask, what's working? What's not? Why? They invite feedback, challenge assumptions, and listen deeply. Questions uncover blind spots, create clarity, and open new pathways for breakthrough. If your leadership has plateaued, maybe it's time to stop giving speeches and start asking questions. The right question at the right time can shift an entire team, change a strategy, or even birth a new direction. Questions invite truth. And truth always leads to growth. 6. Vision without culture is guaranteed to fail. You can have the most compelling vision statement in the world, but if your culture doesn't support it, your organization will collapse under its own potential. Culture is the atmosphere people breathe every day. It's the unspoken rules, the values lived out, and the way people feel when they walk through the door. Culture either fuels vision or fights it. Toxic culture will sabotage the dream faster than a bad strategy ever could. Great leaders don't just cast vision, they curate culture. They align words and actions so people know the vision is more than a poster, it's a practice. 7. Mentorship shapes generations. The power of mentorship isn't just in the advice given, it's in the example lived. A true mentor imparts wisdom, walks alongside, and helps someone else avoid unnecessary pain. But it's bigger than that. A mentor influences not just one person, but everyone that person will eventually impact. Your wisdom, your words, your time, when invested in someone intentionally, becomes legacy. You may never know the full ripple effect of mentoring one young leader, one minister, or one visionary. But what you deposit into them can carry into future churches, organizations, and families. Mentorship multiplies impact across generations. 8. Every new level demands a new version of you. You cannot step into a new dimension of purpose with the mindset, habits, or identity of your last season. Growth requires transformation. Each new assignment will stretch you, expose gaps, and demand upgrades, emotionally, spiritually, and strategically. Too often we pray for promotion but resist the process. You can't take old thinking into new territory. Every level will challenge you to let go of comfort and embrace character. The question is not, are you ready for more? It's, are you becoming more? New wine requires new wineskins. Every elevation requires renovation, within you first. 9. If you don't know who you are, you'll lead others into confusion. Your clarity becomes their compass. If your identity is rooted in performance, people-pleasing, or comparison, your decisions will reflect inconsistency, insecurity, or pride. And those under your leadership will sense it. People follow stability, not shakiness. Leaders who operate from unhealed wounds or unmet validation needs often manipulate instead of lead. On the other hand, when you lead from your true identity, grounded in values, purpose, and faith, you create safe environments for others to thrive. Before you lead a meeting, a ministry, or a movement, lead yourself back to truth. 10. Work-life balance is not luxury, it's spiritual necessity. Rest is holy. In a culture that glorifies grind, hustle, and exhaustion, leaders must recover the sacred rhythm of work and rest. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. If the enemy can't destroy you with sin, he'll destroy you with fatigue. Sabbath is not just about a day off, it's about intentional recovery, renewal, and reflection. Leaders need space to be refilled so they can pour from a place of overflow, not depletion. Your rest is not just for your benefit, it's for the people who rely on your leadership. When you rest, you lead better. 11. Culture is invisible, but it controls everything. You don't always see culture, but you always feel it. Culture is the silent current that directs behavior, morale, and momentum. You can't fake a healthy culture, either it's there or it isn't. It's not what you write on the wall, but what people experience in the hall. Culture is created by what you celebrate, what you tolerate, and what you repeat. If your leadership team says one thing but behaves differently, your culture becomes toxic. Fixing culture starts with honest evaluation and intentional modeling. Without culture, your vision has no atmosphere to breathe in, and will die slowly. 12. Emotional maturity is your greatest leadership strength. No matter how gifted or anointed you are, your emotions will sabotage your leadership if they remain unregulated. Emotional maturity means you can receive correction without defensiveness, manage pressure without exploding, and face disappointment without withdrawing. Immature leaders project their wounds onto others, misread motives, and make decisions based on moods rather than wisdom. Mature leaders stay calm in conflict, communicate with clarity, and remain self-aware under stress. Leadership is 90% emotional management. You can only take others where you've gone internally. If your emotions govern you, you can't govern well. Emotional mastery is spiritual maturity in action. 13. Your influence is not your title, it's your impact. Titles can be given. Influence must be earned. True leadership is not about what's on your business card, robe, or pulpit, it's about the weight your voice carries in people's lives. You know you're a leader not because you hold a position, but because people willingly follow you when they don't have to. Your presence, integrity, wisdom, and example create credibility over time. A title may open a door, but only influence keeps it open. People may respect your position, but they'll only trust your leadership if your life speaks louder than your label. Never confuse status with substance. 14. The best leaders navigate, they don't just react. Leadership is about intentional movement, not frantic management. Reacting is what happens when you're unprepared, uncentered, or unsure. But navigating means you understand the terrain, anticipate challenges, and make strategic choices with composure. Great leaders don't panic, they pivot. They discern when to move forward, when to slow down, and when to change course. Instead of being a thermometer that reflects the climate, they become a thermostat that sets the temperature. You can't lead well if you're always in reaction mode. Navigation comes from vision, wisdom, and emotional steadiness. Choose direction over drama, clarity over chaos. 15. True greatness is found in service, not visibility. Kingdom leadership flips the world's model upside down. In the world, greatness is about being seen. In the kingdom, greatness is about serving when no one's looking. Jesus modeled leadership by washing feet, not taking thrones. The spotlight is not the proof of your significance, your fruit is. The backstage servant may have more reward in heaven than the front stage speaker. Great leaders know how to disappear into purpose. They don't need applause, they're addicted to impact. If you crave influence, you must embrace humility. Servanthood is not the path to greatness, it is greatness. 16. Healthy teams support each other, not compete with each other. You don't build strong teams with superstar mindsets. You build them with shared values, humility, and honor. When a team celebrates wins together, covers weaknesses in love, and uplifts each other's strengths, it becomes unstoppable. On the other hand, when ego, comparison, and silent competition enter the room, the unity breaks, and so does effectiveness. Strong teams know how to say, "I've got you." They don't just share tasks, they share burdens. The best leaders create team cultures where everyone feels seen, supported, and secure. No team wins when the players are trying to outshine each other. 17. Leadership requires identity, integrity, and intentionally. Leadership is not accidental. You must know who you are, identity, live what you preach, integrity, and do it on purpose, intentionally. Without identity, you imitate. Without integrity, you manipulate. Without intentionally, you drift. When all three align, you move with power. Leaders with identity are unshaken by criticism. Leaders with integrity are trustworthy in crisis. Leaders with intentionally are effective without burnout. Every great leader is formed by daily decisions that build these three qualities. Don't wait for a title to develop them, start with who you are becoming. Leadership starts long before the platform appears. 18. Respect is modeled before it is received. You can't demand what you don't demonstrate. Respect flows from example. The way you speak to others, the way you honor time, the way you handle disagreements, all of it teaches people how to treat you and each other. People don't follow your instructions, they mirror your behaviors. A leader who speaks respectfully earns a respectful team. A leader who listens builds listeners. When you walk in grace and strength, people take note. Don't just preach culture, practice it. The fastest way to change a disrespectful environment is to model the opposite until it catches fire. 19. Every crisis is a classroom for character. Tough times don't just happen to you, they happen for you. Leadership pain is not pointless, it's preparation. Crisis strips away comfort and reveals where your trust really lies. It's in the fire that your values are tested and refined. How you respond under pressure determines what kind of leader you truly are. Will you collapse or carry the weight with wisdom? The greatest character development doesn't happen on stages, but in silence, when you're weeping, waiting, or working through adversity. Don't waste your crisis. Ask, what is this teaching me? The lesson you learn becomes the strength you lead with. 20. Don't lead from your wounds, lead from your healing. Unhealed leaders unintentionally wound others. When your identity is shaped by pain, rejection, or trauma, your leadership becomes defensive, reactive, and distorted. But healing transforms perspective. It gives you empathy without enabling, strength without harshness, and boldness without arrogance. You must do the inner work. Talk to a coach, counselor, or spiritual leader. Pray, process, journal. Healing doesn't mean perfection, it means wholeness. Your leadership flows from your emotional and spiritual condition. When you lead from healing, you create safety, vision, and hope for others. Don't bleed on the people God sent you to bless. Heal so you can lead well. 21. Legacy is not what you leave behind, it's who you lift up. A great leader doesn't just accumulate accolades, they multiply others. Your true legacy won't be the buildings you build, the sermons you preach, or the books you write. It will be the lives you've impacted, the leaders you've developed, and the character you've helped shape. The greatest evidence of your leadership is not what happens while you're in charge, but what continues after you're gone. Focus on people, not platforms. Build humans, not just hype. When you intentionally lift others, their future becomes your lasting impact. Plant leadership seeds in others now to harvest legacy later. 22. Excellence is not perfection, it's intention. Too many leaders stall because they confuse excellence with perfection. Perfection is impossible and paralyzing. Excellence is about doing your best with what you have, where you are, consistently. It's a mindset, not a finish line. It's about intentional preparation, attention to detail, and a refusal to settle for sloppy leadership. Excellence builds credibility and inspires trust. It says to others, I honor what I've been called to steward. When leaders embrace excellence, mediocrity dies and momentum grows. Your excellence becomes the floor others stand on to do their best work. 23. Influence always outweighs information. You can have all the right facts, frameworks, and formulas, but if you don't have influence, nothing changes. People rarely remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. Influence is the emotional and spiritual connection you build with those you lead. It's how much weight your words carry in their heart. You gain influence through trust, consistency, and presence. Without influence, your leadership is noise. With it, your voice shapes culture. Invest in your relationships, not just your resources. The leader who earns influence will never have to beg for attention. 24. The pace of your leadership should match the weight of your purpose. If you're moving too fast to hear God, too busy to think, or too distracted to reflect, you're outrunning your assignment. Your pace matters. Some seasons require urgency, others demand stillness. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're progressing. Slow leadership doesn't mean lazy, it means intentional. Set a pace that's sustainable, not just successful. Jesus never rushed, but he always accomplished. Learn to say no to the frantic and yes to the faithful. Lead at the speed of purpose, not popularity. Don't let a fast culture push you into a burned-out future. 25. Your presence is more powerful than your performance. People remember how present you were in their lives more than how perfect your performance was. A leader's power is not always in what they say, it's in how they show up. Showing up emotionally, spiritually, and relationally builds loyalty and trust. Don't just deliver results, be available, be approachable, and be attentive. Your team needs your eye contact more than your applause. Presence communicates value. Leaders who are fully present bring healing to broken environments. In the noise of modern life, presence is a rare and radical gift. 26. Clarity is kindness in leadership. Vagueness confuses. Silence frustrates. Indecision paralyzes. If you love those you lead, be clear. Be clear in your expectations, your feedback, your goals, and your corrections. Don't let fear of conflict cause you to withhold the truth. People can grow from correction, they can't grow from confusion. Kind leaders communicate. When people know where they stand and what's expected, they flourish. Clarity saves time, reduces drama, and builds trust. The most loving thing you can do for your team is to stop being ambiguous. Speak the truth in love, with clarity and compassion. 27. Leadership is stewardship, not ownership. Everything you lead, your team, your ministry, your business, is not yours. It's entrusted to you. This mindset humbles you, grounds you, and keeps your heart in check. When you lead as a steward, you treat people with care, you make decisions with prayer, and you build with integrity. Owners grasp. Stewards guide. Ownership leads to ego, stewardship leads to reverence. God honors leaders who manage his assignments well. When you see your leadership as a trust, not a trophy, you lead with both hands open, ready to serve, ready to release, and ready to be redirected. 28. Humility is the crown of real leadership. The greatest leaders are the most grounded ones. Pride repels people, humility draws them in. A humble leader listens more than they speak, owns their mistakes, shares credit, and remains teachable. Humility is not weakness, it's wisdom. It doesn't mean thinking less of yourself, It means thinking of yourself less. It's strength under control. You can't grow if you already think you know everything. Humble leaders raise up others, not just themselves. They attract loyalty and build cultures where people feel safe to contribute. If you want to lead high, you must kneel low. 29. The more secure you are, the less approval you need. Insecure leaders are dangerous. They compete, compare, control, and create chaos. But a secure leader is free to empower others, free to admit when they're wrong, and free from needing applause. Security comes from identity, not image. It's built through time with God, self-reflection, and healed wounds. When you stop needing everyone to like you, you start making decisions that truly serve people. A secure leader can lead unpopularly, love freely, and elevate others without feeling threatened. Your inner security will determine your outer stability. 30. Your words create the atmosphere you lead in. Every word you speak is either building or breaking something. Your tone, timing, and content set the emotional and spiritual temperature of your team. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, not just in what you say publicly, but in private conversations, meetings, and even texts. Wise leaders use words to heal, direct, challenge, and encourage. Harsh leaders create fear. Silent leaders create confusion. Encouraging leaders create trust. Guard your mouth. Speak life. Let your leadership language reflect the future you want to build, not the frustration you want to vent. 31. Silence from a leader feels like abandonment. When leaders go silent in times of tension, change, or uncertainty, those they lead often feel forgotten, confused, or betrayed. Silence sends a message, even if you didn't mean to send it. Your presence and communication during difficult moments communicates care. Even if you don't have all the answers, say something. Check in. Reassure. Encourage. Clarify. Unspoken expectations and unanswered concerns create space for assumptions. And assumptions create division. Speak up, even if it's just to say, I see you, and I'm with you. Leadership without communication breaks connection. 32. You can't lead well if you don't listen well. Listening is a superpower in leadership. When people feel heard, they feel valued. And when they feel valued, they lean in with loyalty. Too many leaders talk over, assume, or dismiss others. But great leaders lean in, ask thoughtful questions, and resist the urge to interrupt. Listening helps you gather context, uncover root issues, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. It strengthens emotional intelligence and builds trust. Don't just hear to respond, listen to understand. The best leaders are curious learners, not defensive know-it-alls. 33. Pain will visit, don't let it move in. Every leader will experience pain, betrayal, criticism, loss, disappointment. But pain is a visitor, not a tenant. If you build your identity around your wounds, you'll lead from trauma instead of truth. Let pain teach you, but don't let it name you. Heal. Grow. Move forward. Leadership demands resilience. The enemy wants you stuck in past pain so you can't pursue future purpose. Feel what you need to feel, but don't pitch a tent in the valley. You're allowed to grieve, but you're also called to rise. 34. Accountability is not punishment, it's protection. Every leader needs guardrails. Accountability keeps you grounded, honest, and safe. It's not about control, it's about community. When you lead in isolation, you're one decision away from collapse. Accountability helps you see what you can, catch what you miss, and hold you to your values. Don't resent the people who challenge you, thank them. Accountability is not a threat to your freedom. It's a safeguard for your future. If no one can tell you no, you're not leading, you're endangering everyone around you. 35. If you tolerate dysfunction, you're training people to accept it. What you allow, you empower. If someone is toxic, underperforming, or consistently out of alignment, and you say nothing, you're not just tolerating dysfunction, you're teaching it. Dysfunction doesn't stay in one place. It spreads like a virus. Strong leaders confront issues with truth and grace. They don't ignore, minimize, or excuse harmful behavior. They set standards, enforce boundaries, and model excellence. If you want a culture of honor, responsibility, and excellence, you must protect it fiercely. Leadership requires courageous conversations. 36. A distracted leader is a dangerous leader. When your attention is scattered, your leadership becomes reactive, shallow, and ineffective. Focus is your superpower. Distractions dilute your energy, derail your priorities, and damage your credibility. A distracted leader forgets what matters most and ends up doing many things halfway instead of a few things with excellence. Eliminate what drains you. Clarify what drives you. Protect your time like it's sacred, because it is. When you lead with intention, you create traction. When you chase everything, you build nothing. Master your focus, and you'll multiply your fruit. 37. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Leadership boundaries aren't optional, they're essential. Every time you ignore disrespect, excuse lateness, or absorb mistreatment without correction, you set a silent standard. People will treat you according to what you allow. If you want respect, demonstrate and demand it. If you want commitment, stop rewarding inconsistency. Boundaries are not barriers, they're the blueprint for healthy leadership relationships. The stronger your boundaries, the healthier your influence. Don't be afraid to disappoint people who expect access without accountability. You're not here to please, you're here to lead. 38. Vision is not just what you see, it's what you help others see. A visionary leader doesn't just see the future, they make others believe it's possible. It's not enough for you to be excited about where you're going, you must help others see themselves in that future. Vision without communication is just imagination. Your job is to cast vision clearly, consistently, and creatively. Tell stories. Paint pictures. Repeat the why until it's part of their language. Leaders ignite belief in what's next. If no one else can see what you see, it's time to communicate better, not louder. Vision becomes reality when others carry it too. 39. Conflict avoided is character undeveloped. Avoiding hard conversations doesn't preserve peace, it prolongs pain. Leaders who won't confront issues allow dysfunction to grow roots. Healthy conflict handled with grace deepens trust and refines character. Don't ghost people, gossip about them, or sweep things under the rug. Address the issue directly, calmly, and prayerfully. You cannot lead at a high level and avoid confrontation. Courageous leadership requires clean hearts and clear conversations. You don't grow by escaping tension, you grow by navigating it with wisdom and maturity. Every unresolved conflict becomes a lid to your influence. 40. Great leaders don't compete, they collaborate. Secure leaders don't need to outshine others. They shine with others. They're not intimidated by gifted people, they're inspired by them. Insecure leaders hoard opportunities. Great leaders create them. Collaboration says, we're better together than alone. It fosters innovation, fuels creativity, and multiplies results. The kingdom of God was never built on competition, it was built on cooperation. Whether you're leading a church, a team, or a business, elevate others. Give credit. Share the stage. Celebrate collective wins. You're not racing against anyone, you're building something with everyone. 41. What you do daily determines who you become permanently. Your habits shape your leadership more than your hopes. It's not the big moments that define you, it's the small, unseen disciplines repeated over time. Show me your morning routine, your study rhythms, your feedback loops, and I'll show you your future. If you want to grow, get consistent. Want to improve your communication? Practice daily. Want to deepen spiritual authority? Pray daily. Want to earn more trust? Lead with integrity daily. The life you want is locked inside the habits you haven't yet mastered. Daily discipline builds lifetime results. 42. A burned-out leader is a burdened leader. You cannot serve well when your soul is starved. Burnout is not just physical exhaustion, it's emotional depletion, spiritual dryness, and mental fatigue. It comes when you give and never receive. Rest is not weakness, it's responsibility. Sabbath is not optional, it's obedience. If your tank is empty, your leadership becomes toxic. You snap quicker, drift further, and lose passion silently. Check your fuel gauge. Get help. Rest deeply. Refuel intentionally. Your calling deserves a healthy version of you, not a depleted one. Recovery is not a setback, it's sacred stewardship. 43. Real leaders build people, not just platforms. It's easy to build a brand. It's harder to build people. Platforms may grow your influence, but people carry your legacy. If your entire leadership revolves around your image and not your investment in others, it's shallow. Pour into others. Develop their gifts. Ask about their families. Challenge their growth. Your greatest success will not be in what you do, but in who you raise. Don't chase popularity, chase multiplication. Build people, and they will build what you started. In the end, your work is only as strong as the lives it transforms. 44. Loyalty is tested in silence, not just applause. It's easy to support a leader when the spotlight is on. But true loyalty shows up behind the scenes, when decisions are questioned, when critics are loud, and when the benefits fade. Loyalty is not blind agreement, it's courageous alignment. It speaks up with love, covers with honor, and walks close when it's inconvenient. Leaders don't need fans, they need partners. And partners don't disappear when it's hard. They pray, stay, and serve. Build with people who are with you in the shadows, not just those who post selfies when you win. 45. Leaders are learners, always. The moment you stop learning, you stop leading. Growth is not optional in leadership, it's oxygen. Read books. Ask questions. Attend trainings. Get coaching. Surround yourself with people who stretch your thinking. Don't be the smartest person in every room. Your current level of influence is limited by your last level of input. Leaders who grow remain relevant, fresh, and useful. Pride will tell you, you've arrived. Wisdom reminds you, there's more to learn. Be humble enough to keep learning, and your influence will outlast your position. 46. You can't fix what you won't face. Denial is the enemy of progress. You cannot heal what you hide. You can't change what you won't confront. Whether it's a broken team dynamic, a personal addiction, a struggling marriage, or spiritual apathy, honesty is the first step to transformation. Facing the truth is painful, but it's powerful. God doesn't anoint avoidance, He anoints authenticity. Healing, change, and freedom start when you stop pretending everything is fine. Leadership requires the courage to face the hard things, with God, with your team, and with yourself. 47. Charisma may attract, but character keeps. It's tempting to lean on charm, gifts, or personality to gain influence. But only character sustains it. Charisma opens doors, character keeps them open. You may preach powerfully, lead passionately, and inspire crowds, but if your private life is undisciplined, everything eventually collapses. Integrity matters. Humility matters. Purity matters. What you build with talent can crumble without character. Don't let public applause blind you to private erosion. God is more concerned with your foundation than your followers. 48. A clear no is more loving than a dishonest yes. People-pleasing leadership is exhausting and ineffective. Saying yes to everything leads to resentment, burnout, and boundary violation. Leaders must learn to say no, with kindness and clarity. You're not rejecting the person, you're protecting the mission. A clear no communicates integrity. A false yes builds false hope. Be honest about your capacity. Be upfront about your priorities. Every yes to something unaligned is a no to what God has called you to protect. Love people enough to disappoint them honestly. 49. How you end things is just as important as how you start them. Anyone can start with excitement. Few finish with excellence. Whether it's ending a project, a season, a staff relationship, or a sermon, your exit communicates as much as your entry. Leaders who leave things unfinished damage trust and credibility. Create a culture of closure. Wrap up well. Celebrate endings. Debrief transitions. Resolve conflict before walking away. How you handle endings reflects maturity and integrity. Finish strong, even when it's uncomfortable. It honors the past and prepares the future. 50. The most anointed leader is still human. Anointing does not replace accountability. Power doesn't cancel the need for healing. Authority doesn't make you immune to temptation, fatigue, or emotion. You may be called by God, but you are still flesh and blood. Take care of your soul. Protect your boundaries. Be honest about your weaknesses. Ask for help. Get counseling. Seek Sabbath. God doesn't bless perfection, He blesses honesty. Your humanity isn't a liability, it's your reminder to depend on grace. The more real you are, the more God can work through you. 51. You cannot disciple what you idolize. When you idolize talent, charisma, or status in those you lead, you lose the ability to challenge, correct, or develop them. Leadership requires a clear head and a clean heart. If you place someone on a pedestal, you can't speak into their blind spots. You'll excuse red flags and call it honor, but it's really fear. True leaders are not starstruck, they're spiritually discerning. God didn't call you to worship the gifted. He called you to disciple the willing. Love people, don't elevate them beyond accountability. 52. Don't confuse being busy with being effective. Busyness often masquerades as productivity, but motion isn't the same as movement. A full schedule can hide an empty strategy. Leaders who chase everything end up progressing in nothing. Effectiveness is about doing the right things with the right focus at the right time. Evaluate your calendar. Are you filling time or fulfilling purpose? Sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do is pause, pray, and prioritize. God didn't call you to do more, He called you to do what matters. 53. Delegation is not dumping, it's development. Delegating tasks isn't about offloading what you don't want to do, it's about raising others to do what they're called to do. Healthy delegation involves vision, clarity, and follow-up. It's a leadership development tool, not just a time-saving tactic. Dumping work without equipping breeds resentment and failure. But trusting people with real responsibility and support builds growth and loyalty. If you hoard every assignment, you stunt your team's potential. Delegate with care, mentor in the process, and release them with confidence. 54. When trust is broken, leadership must slow down. Trust is the currency of leadership. When it's high, progress is fast. When it's low, everything drags. If there's been betrayal, disappointment, or moral failure, you can't lead at full speed. You must repair before you rebuild. Acknowledge the breach. Apologize where needed. Create consistent patterns of accountability and transparency. Trust doesn't grow back with words, it grows with time and integrity. Rushing a team that's healing only deepens the wound. Slow down, listen, and lead with humility. 55. What you ignore in private will eventually embarrass you in public. Unaddressed issues never disappear, they grow in silence and explode in spotlight. Whether it's a habit, a strained relationship, or a toxic team member, avoidance is not protection, it's postponement. Every time you delay correction, you increase the cost. Leaders must be proactive, not passive. God gives insight so you can intervene early. Handle it now in private, or it will handle you later in public. It's better to have a hard conversation today than a public scandal tomorrow. 56. Transitions test your trust. The in-between seasons, when something is ending but something else hasn't begun, are where faith is refined. It's easy to trust God with what you can see. But real leadership is forged in the hallway between assignments, roles, or outcomes. Transitions stir insecurity and expose your foundation. Will you cling to the familiar or walk into the unknown? Will you panic or prepare? Transitions are not wasted, they're preparation for what's next. Embrace the shift. Listen for God's voice. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. 57. Leading volunteers requires more heart than hierarchy. Volunteers aren't paid with money, they're paid with meaning. When people choose to serve without compensation, they do it for connection, significance, and vision. That means your leadership must be relational, not positional. You can't bark orders or hide behind a title. You must inspire, appreciate, and invest in people's why. The more you connect with their heart, the longer they'll stay committed. Honor their time. Equip them well. Celebrate their impact. Lead with gratitude, not entitlement. 58. The louder your title, the quieter your spirit must be. The higher you rise in leadership, the more vital it becomes to stay grounded, centered, and discerning. Visibility attracts noise, opinions, expectations, temptations. If you don't cultivate stillness and sensitivity to God, you'll start performing for people instead of leading for purpose. A loud world requires a quiet soul. Spend time in the secret place. Let God recalibrate your motives. Power without prayer leads to pride. Your effectiveness in public hinges on your intimacy with God in private. 59. Crisis doesn't create leadership, it reveals it. When things fall apart, real leaders rise. But they don't become leaders in the crisis, they were already developing in obscurity. The storm simply unveils what was planted in secret. You don't prepare during battle, you prepare before. Crisis is a pressure test. It squeezes out your convictions, character, and capacity. What shows up under stress is what's really been built. Use peaceful seasons to deepen roots, sharpen skills, and build strong teams. Because when the shaking comes, shallow leaders crumble, but prepared ones carry others through. 60. Consistency is more powerful than charisma. A flash of brilliance will get people's attention, but steady presence will keep their trust. You don't have to be the most dynamic speaker or the most gifted visionary. You just have to show up, keep your word, stay committed, and do what you say you will do. Charisma impresses people for a moment. Consistency impacts them for a lifetime. Your team doesn't need fireworks, they need follow-through. When your character is predictable, your leadership becomes dependable. 61. Great leaders ask for feedback before failure forces it. Wise leaders don't wait until things break down to find out what's wrong, they invite feedback early. They ask, what can we do better? What are you seeing that I'm not? Feedback isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It reveals blind spots, fuels innovation, and protects vision. The most dangerous leader is the one who's uncorrectable. If no one can tell you the truth, you'll crash blind. Cultivate an environment where honest input is welcome, and you'll prevent most disasters before they start. 62. God prepares you privately before he promotes you publicly. Before David stood before Goliath, he was faithful in the field. Before Joseph fled Egypt, he was tested in prison. Before Jesus launched ministry, he was alone in the wilderness. Don't despise the hidden season. God does his best work in obscurity. The private refining makes you ready for public responsibility. Learn the lessons. Build the disciplines. Stay faithful in anonymity. Your platform will only be as strong as your preparation. What God does in you in secret will sustain you in visibility. 63. You can't disciple what you don't understand. Effective discipleship requires empathy and awareness. You can't lead people you're unwilling to learn from. Take time to understand their generation, their pain, their perspective. Too often, leaders teach from assumption, not revelation. But Jesus met people in their context before calling them to transformation. Ask questions. Listen without judgment. Understand before you instruct. Discipleship without understanding becomes control. But when you lead with empathy, people feel seen, and they're more open to being shaped. 64. Growth without alignment leads to burnout. You can expand fast and still fail. Growth is exciting, but if your structure, values, and team aren't aligned with the expansion, it becomes chaos. More people, more programs, and more projects without clarity will stretch you beyond grace. Don't chase growth at the expense of health. Every expansion must be supported by systems and strengthened by culture. Ask, do we have the infrastructure to handle what we're praying for? God's blessing should build, not bury. 65. You cannot anoint what you refuse to train. Anointing without equipping creates burnout and confusion. Just because someone is gifted doesn't mean they're ready. And just because someone is passionate doesn't mean they're prepared. If you see potential in a leader, invest in them. Teach them. Coach them. Challenge them. Affirmation without formation leaves people excited but ineffective. Train the called. Don't just celebrate their gift, shape their character. Maturity is not automatic. Development is discipleship. 66. Don't lead based on your trauma, lead through your testimony. Everyone has wounds. But if your leadership flows from unhealed pain, it will bleed on your decisions. Trauma-driven leaders control, overreact, isolate, and overcompensate. But testimony-driven leaders lead with clarity, healing, and hope. Your pain becomes purpose only after it's processed. Don't ignore what hurt you, transform it. Your story has power. Let God redeem it, so you can lead others with grace instead of grief. You're not what happened to you. You are what you've overcome through Christ. 67. You can't empower who you don't trust. Micromanagement kills creativity. Control kills growth. Empowerment is rooted in trust, and trust is built on clear expectations, consistent follow-up, and a willingness to release outcomes. If you don't trust someone to lead, don't give them the role. But if you do, give them room to breathe, fail, and learn. Trust communicates belief. Empowered leaders take ownership. Distrusted leaders disengage. You don't grow leaders by hovering, you grow them by releasing. 68. Excellence doesn't require extravagance. You don't need the biggest budget to lead with excellence. You just need focus, preparation, and care. Excellence is about the attitude behind the action. It's about stewarding the small things with the same intentionally as the big ones. Whether you're setting up shares or hosting a conference, do it with thoughtfulness and heart. People don't remember if it was fancy, they remember if it was intentional. In the kingdom, excellence reflects honor. Do the best you can with what you have, and watch God increase it. 69. Systems are spiritual. We often separate spiritual leadership from administrative systems. But good systems honor God because they steward people well. Systems prevent chaos, protect vision, and preserve energy. The early church in Acts grew rapidly, but it also organized rapidly. Structure supports the spirit. A leader who prays but never plans is limited. God is a God of order. Systems are not unspiritual, they are the container that holds revival. If you want to scale your impact, build strong systems. 70. Your calling will cost you comfort. If you want to lead well, you must let go of convenience. Obedience rarely feels easy. God's assignments will stretch you, confront you, and require sacrifice. You'll be misunderstood. You'll have to make hard choices. You'll lose sleep, fight fear, and carry burdens others never see. But your calling is worth it. You weren't created for ease, you were created for impact. Don't trade your assignment for approval. Don't quit because it's hard. Leadership is costly, but it's eternally worth it. How to use this book. Practical ways to grow from these 70 leadership quotes. This book is more than a collection of quotes, it's a leadership growth companion. Each quote in these pages is designed to sharpen your awareness, deepen your character, and stretch your capacity to lead with wisdom, clarity, and grace. Here's how to get the most out of this resource. White check mark emoji. 1. Read one quote at a time. Resist the urge to rush. Treat each quote like a leadership vitamin, slow, intentional, and digestible. Let it marinate in your mind and spirit before moving on to the next one. Pen emoji. 2. Reflect, write, and apply. After each quote, pause and ask, what does this say to me as a leader? Where do I see this principle in action, or in need, within my life or team? What's one thing I can do today to practice this truth? Use a journal or notebook to record your reflections and action steps. Calendar emoji. 3. Use as a 70-day growth journey. Each quote can serve as a daily focus for 10 weeks. Start each morning by reading one quote, meditating on the explanation, and applying the reflection. By the end, you'll have internalized 70 capacity-expanding truths. People holding hands emoji. 4. Discuss with your team or mentorship group. These quotes are excellent conversation starters for leadership teams, staff meetings, coaching calls, and ministry huddles. Ask your group, what stands out to you? Where do we see this at work in our organization? What shifts do we need to make? This turns reading into culture building. Praying gesture emoji. 5. Turn quotes into prayer points. Many of these truths are rooted in spiritual wisdom. Use them in your personal prayer time. Lord, help me become a leader who finishes well. Father, develop consistency in me beyond charisma. Let each quote become a catalyst for spiritual alignment and growth. Compass emoji. 6. Revisit often. Growth doesn't happen in one pass. Return to these quotes during new seasons of leadership, moments of transition, or when you feel stuck. What spoke to you in one season will speak differently in another. This book is a mirror, a map, and a mentor. Use it intentionally, and it will strengthen your foundation, elevate your thinking, and prepare you to lead with greater capacity and courage.